I like to feel good. Strange concept, I know. But why do I do things that actively make me feel bad? Sometimes things feel good in the moment, or we just want an escape, so we choose something that numbs us. The problem is, these short-term solutions have long-term negative effects. I've certainly noticed that after I get sucked into the void, scrolling on Instagram, I feel horrible when I finally pull myself away. After that, my attention span is totally shot, I'm drained of energy. Even if I was taking a break by scrolling, I'm just drained. Don't get me wrong, I'm not just going to be another guy screaming, all social media is bad, the world would be better off without the internet. I recognize it has its place. I'm obviously using a form of social media right now to deliver this content to you, but I've certainly noticed the effect that prolonged usage to certain sides of social media has on my mental state. The internet and social media are tools just like anything else, but we have to make sure we are in control of the tools and the tools are not in control of us, which is really difficult considering the tools were made with addiction in mind. A video by the YouTube channel The School of Life titled When and Why Do We Pick Up Our Phones, link in description, talks about how we often pick up our phones in moments of high anxiety when our mind is trying to work through things and process them. Often we pick up our phones as a way of pushing off the processing, to numb ourselves from feeling what we're feeling right now. We feel we're not strong enough to deal with the emotions or the thoughts we're having right now, so we push it off till later, till the future when we can deal with it. The problem is this makes it a lot harder to deal with in the future, because then we have the thoughts of right now and the thoughts of tomorrow to deal with tomorrow. So tomorrow is infinitely harder, and we push it off again tomorrow and infinitely spiral down into more and more anxiety. Because of this, maybe we'll have trouble sleeping, because as soon as we try to sleep, we actually get a chance to relax and our mind starts processing things because we've been pushing it off the whole day and ignoring it the whole day. So now our mind is just like, oh, okay, we're going to process now. We finally have a minute to process when you're not numbing and pushing things off. So then it becomes really hard to sleep because all of the thoughts that have been pushed off throughout the day come rushing in right back then and your mind is racing. In The Anxious Generation, Jonathan Haidt shows some eye-opening graphs that talk about the real increase in mental illness since the advent of social media. A U.S. national survey on drug use and health revealed that anxiety has increased 139% in people aged 18 to 25 since 2010. Of those surveyed, likely this age range has the highest phone usage. Something else to note is that Instagram was released on October 6th of 2010 and was acquired by Facebook in 2012. The same survey showed that major depression has increased 145% for girls and 161% for boys since 2010. The American College Health Association released statistics that showed that among college students, anxiety has increased 134% since 2010, and depression has increased 106%. Now I know, correlation does not imply causation, so these graphs alone do not show that social media is the sole cause for the sharp increase in mental illness in recent years. I know there are many other contributing factors, but it's really hard to ignore that this increase comes in an age where internet and social media use is at an all-time high. Consider this graph for the rise of popularity in social media. Again, I know correlation does not imply causation, but it's extremely difficult to ignore the fact that these two graphs look eerily similar.
Aside from all of that, it's just incredibly easy to burn time. Scrolling through Reels is the easiest way to skip through time in your day. It's incredible. It's so incredible, in fact, that we do it without even thinking about it. I mean, seriously, how many times a day do you pick up your phone literally just to scroll? We do this often to avoid being bored, right? But let's stop for a second and focus on the element of time. As cliche as it sounds, your time is valuable. It's invaluable, actually. It's a resource that can't be earned back like money can. It's a resource that we take for granted the younger we are, and we value more the older we get. So how can you value your time? This topic kind of deserves its own video for sure, but for right now, let me try to draw your thinking for just a second. In my opinion, valuing your own time comes with finding a purpose. Plain and simple. It's about working hard towards a goal that you're legitimately passionate about, and making progress toward that goal. And making progress toward that goal can actually be addicting in itself, and it can replace that incessant craving for being constantly distracted. There's a really good video on YouTube called How I Replaced Gaming with Coding. I highly recommend you watch it. It's only 4 minutes long. This guy had a really good story. He literally replaced video games with coding and software development. A big point he made in the video was he realized he wasn't addicted to video games themselves. He was addicted to the progress. Peak progress. Subscribe, by the way. After writing his first line of code, he was absolutely hooked. I can relate. That brain chemistry works with gym rats. That's why people get addicted to working out. It's the clear feedback and reward that we get from putting in time and effort into something. It's how we're wired, and it's a superpower if you harness it into something that you're truly passionate about. If you do it right, it can genuinely change you as a person. Okay, so back to setting yourself a goal. Having a purpose is a fundamental step in crushing any addiction, actually. Dr. K mentions this a lot.
Purpose really does come from within. And the beautiful thing about purpose is that that's what makes doing hard things easy. So purpose is what allows us to make sacrifices. And we're becoming a world that it's becoming harder and harder to make sacrifices. In fact, we want the opposite. We don't even want to sacrifice and tolerate 5 minutes of boredom while we're taking a poop. People who do difficult things have a reason for it. And so now what's happening in society is like people can't do hard stuff because like, why do you wake up in the morning? There's like an existential nihilism, like anti-work and wealth inequality and climate change. Like, what's the point?
What exactly is a goal? I define a goal as this: something that is supposed to bring you long-term satisfaction, something that makes you money, builds confidence, whatever it is. For most people, it's simply making money, because money is, for most people, the number one stress factor in their life, which is understandable. Maybe it's that project that you've always thought about doing, but you just haven't done it because you procrastinated or you thought that you were too dumb to even start. No, here's your sign: go do it.
So I can go on and on talking about how bad and how horrible all of these are, but that doesn't really do any good if I don't offer any solutions, does it? Well, I think you already know the solutions. Everybody talks about them. Things like going outside more, practicing mindfulness, exercising and caring for your body more, learning a new skill, starting a new hobby. Fairly common sense things that generally everybody knows. Just about any YouTuber would tell you. It sounds cliche, but there's a reason behind these things. Like, there's a reason it's cliche. If you're skeptical, just try a few of these things. Try one of these things and see how it makes you feel. I guarantee you'll feel better. As all of our moms told us growing up, how do you know you don't like it if you haven't tried it?
So what did I do personally to reduce my exposure to overall brain rot, social media, distraction, all of that? Well, it's actually already been a few months since I've taken Instagram completely off my phone. Many times have I woken up, as soon as I get out of bed, immediately pick up my phone and just start scrolling. An hour, sometimes two go by, and then I get out of bed. Throughout the entire day, I scroll, right? Once I get back into bed, I scroll for another hour or two until I fall asleep. That was absolutely catastrophic to my goals, as well as my discipline, my will to do things in general. I recognize this because I didn't feel good after scrolling whenever I woke up every morning. It set the tone for the rest of the day for me, and it didn't feel good. It didn't feel right. So I made the executive decision to remove it off my phone completely, permanently, indefinitely. And my screen time dipped drastically. I wish I had the screenshots. You're gonna have to take my word on that, but my screen time legitimately went down. There were so many times whenever I would pick up my phone and then literally put it right back down again because I realized I didn't have Instagram to scroll on. I had no more reason to stare at my phone for no reason but to kill time and to be distracted. It's crazy. I suddenly had so much more time in my day. In my opinion, staying signed in on your desktop or on your laptop is fine because that barrier to entry to scroll on Instagram is a lot higher. Therefore, for me, it inherently makes me stay on it a lot less. That's with me personally. If that's not the case, it's on you to be honest with yourself and see what works for you.
If you're finding that you're addicted to your phone or social media and you're having a really hard time giving that up, if you want it bad enough, there's some measures you can take to break the addiction. Obviously, the most extreme way would just be to go cold turkey, delete all the social media apps, delete Netflix, delete YouTube, delete all the things. That might not be for everybody, that's okay. Social media has some value. I remember when I was on Instagram for a while, I was in a group chat with a bunch of my friends, and that helped me feel connected with them. You don't have to go completely cold turkey. Sometimes you can delete them off your phone, but then they're still accessible on your computer. Then there's just a higher bar of entry, a little more friction. Any streaming platforms can be accessed on your smart TV or on your computer, so you don't constantly find yourself spending hours on them at night before bed on your phone. And if deleting the apps sounds like too much and you don't think you can do it, that's okay. There's apps like OneSec or Opal that are made with the goal of helping you win back some of your time and break the addiction. Some of them can set it up to where certain apps are disallowed after certain screen time limits on a certain day. OneSec pops up a little window on your phone which blocks you from accessing a certain app for a couple seconds right when you tap on it, so it can increase the friction. So it makes it a little bit harder to access so you don't access it quite as often. Maybe you realize, you know what, I don't really want to scroll on Instagram right now. With just little things like this that can increase the friction just a little bit, that can really help to break the addiction and the addictive tendencies.
What most people say is to simply make your phone boring. And of course, put it in another room when you're trying to study, get work done, whatever. It's by far the number one distraction to most people, their phone.
Okay, so you've broken your addiction. Now what? Now that you have a significant amount of time that you've fought for and won back, what do you spend it on so that you don't end up falling back into some other addiction that's probably been engineered to steal your time? Start taking action to put your newfound time towards something worthwhile. You might not know what it is at first, but some exploring and you can find it. Now you have time to explore new hobbies, try new things. There's all sorts of things you could do. Maybe you'll find that you have a love for building plastic model kits. Maybe you'll discover a hidden love for art and drawing and painting, or something else. Maybe you'll finally start that business you've been telling your friends and family about, the one that you said you'll start when you just have enough free time. Well, you have some free time now. Maybe you'll start writing and you'll find that you enjoy it and you write the next great novel and become the next Charles Dickens. Or maybe none of that will happen. Maybe you'll just find that you have more time to spend with those that you love, or doing things that you know you love. You'll just finally start to notice the experiences in life and the little things that have just been passing you by. The possibilities are endless.